Hi, I'm Jordan McDonald, staff writer, GovCIO Media and Research, and I'm excited. I know it's the last panel of the day, but I am excited for this one in particular because this is one of our, or maybe is the most interactive one. This gives you a chance to hear from a host of leaders across federal government about their work they're doing to drive IT efficiency, and not only that, talk to them and ask them questions about it. So I don't want to take up too much more time, and I wanted to introduce our first speaker, Jennifer Franks, who's the director of the Center for Enhanced Cybersecurity and acting director of the Analytics Foundry at the Government Accountability Office, who's going to talk about some of the ways that she works with federal agencies to boost their cybersecurity posture. So, Jennifer.
Well, good morning. Thank you for the call and response. I like a lot of activity when I'm speaking. And we can wake everybody up because cybersecurity is such a passionate topic of mine. And what's really exciting about cyber is that I feel like everybody understands a lot more now versus when I first started in my career, folks were waiting until they were hacked or someone they knew's information was compromised, and then they started to listen and figure out why cybersecurity could matter to me. So with the Government Accountability Office, are you familiar with GAO? I see some nods. So with our work for Congress, we literally go into different federal agencies, literally across the board, looking at how federal agencies' cybersecurity initiatives and their programs are being implemented. And I've been doing this for quite some time. I've been in several agencies, including DOI and NASA, who just left the stage. I'm in NASA heavily right now, and I always love to hear what my federal colleagues are doing to really bolster cybersecurity protections across their various agencies. So since 1997, GAO has been finding that cybersecurity is a high-risk area to be concerned about. It's the security programs, it's the staff that are managing our programs, and the way that we are upskilling to be on the cutting edge of what's to come. So we've talked about some AI, we know quantum computing's on the horizon, but as of right now, since the year of 2010, GAO has had over 4,500 cybersecurity-related recommendations sent across the federal agencies in a number of different areas. One of the biggest areas is effective cybersecurity strategy and oversight. So really looking at the workforce and supply chain efforts. And of course, if you're thinking about some of the latest impacts of federal incidents and cybersecurity breaches, they have started because of our third-party vendors and their software. So looking at the supply chain and those risks that are associated with having that software and those systems and services brought into our environment is of the utmost importance. One of the most critical areas that I do with my team is looking at how we're securing information systems and the data that resides in those systems. So with that, we're looking at your security management programs, we're working with the CIOs and the CISOs, and we're looking at how you're effectively able to detect, respond, and recover from cybersecurity incidents. Now, I will tell you, 90% of the federal agencies I go to, the number one finding we continue to see is a lack of inventory management. And this goes for software and hardware. So it's very hard to protect what you don't know you have in your environment. So we have a lot of findings and observations where we're working with federal agencies to really effectively manage the security of their environments. Then we have the critical infrastructure sector. As we know, there are 16 critical infrastructure sectors, and obviously the education sector, healthcare, finance are some of the ones that we hear about quite a bit being impacted by cybersecurity vulnerabilities. But we have to be cognizant, and this is where that federal government, industry, public partner, private partnership comes in handy, because we need to be ready and willing to step in when our infrastructures are impacted with the various cyber vulnerabilities. And lastly, we talked through the privacy and protections of our data and our personally identifiable information. All of us use smart technologies every single day, even for those of us that try to be a little bit more preventative and not use as many devices as we could. But with AI being embedded in so many of our tools and technologies now, we were already finding that agencies were not able to really provide the additional protections for their data and not personally identifiable information. And now going into the next phase of deploying and developing additional AI software, tools, and technologies, we're finding more and more that federal agencies do not have the capabilities to really put us at the edge of where it is we need to go. I had a review that just came out last month, and thinking about incident response and data management, of the 23 CFO Act agencies that we reviewed, only 2 had the necessary data protection and network monitoring ready to go to prevent and detect incidents and intruders in their environment. I look forward to your questions and all the other panelists today, so thank you.
Jennifer, thank you so much for starting us off strong. As Jennifer mentioned, we will have a question and answer session at the end of the lightning round, so please, I implore you, write down your questions, hold on to them, and then once we get through all the speakers, please feel free to come up to either microphone and ask your question. Next, we're going to have Doyle Choi, Senior Director of Strategic Federal Programs at Pure Storage, join us to talk about some of the ways that his agency, or his company, is tackling AI storage.
Thank you, Jordan, for the kind intro and the opportunity to talk about finding efficiencies in storage solutions. But before I begin, let me talk about AI. Why? Because we can't have a summit without mentioning AI at least 3 times every 5 minutes, right? So I was expecting a reaction. So let's pause for a moment and train the AI model looking down on us. AI drives federal IT efficiency. Agentic AI delivers on the promise of federal IT efficiency. This GovCIO Federal IT Efficiency Summit is powered by AI. Jordan, that should be enough training to ensure that this summit is through solicited and unsolicited prompts is promoted as often as possible, right? So I'll make sure to give AI a treat later on to solidify that impression. But in all seriousness, existing data solutions are prime targets for federal agencies to achieve their efficiency goals. Agencies are challenged to be 8 to 12% more efficient while deploying innovations such as AI. However, legacy, monolithic storage architectures have led to numerous inefficiencies in space, power, cooling, and resources, and solutions that simply can't scale to meet the demands of AI applications. Imagine reducing your physical data solutions footprint by 80%, while sustaining a future-proof architecture that allows you to scale within that reduced footprint to meet future data growth demands, with products that are never obsolete and paid for through consumption models versus capital expenditures. Also imagine predictable operations and sustainment costs, an enterprise data cloud experience for your users and administrators, cyber resilience, and most importantly, deriving faster value from your data through optimized connections with the most innovative AI products. These innovations are all here today and are part of the Pure Storage Evergreen One operating paradigm. Evergreen One recently supported a very large national security partner to optimize and modernize 100 petabytes of legacy data storage, using their existing maintenance funds to overachieve their efficiency goals. Imagine the efficiencies achieved by collapsing 70 racks of storage down to 10, reducing power consumption from over 400 kilowatts down to 60, and simplifying their data management through a common user experience. all of these efficiencies were achieved while providing a secure path to future data growth. How did we do this? Through continuous innovations in our direct flash module products. We recently went from 150 terabytes per direct flash module to 300 terabytes, with plans to scale even further in the future. Just imagine a future with petabytes of storage on a direct flash module without increasing your physical footprint nor power consumption needs. That's really powerful and speaks to the efficiencies that the Pure Storage evergreen operating paradigm can deliver. The best part, this reimagined data enterprise has fully prepared this agency to take advantage of advancements in AI. At our recent Accelerate conference in June, NVIDIA executive Matthew Hall defined AI as storage, compute, and math. He further spotlighted Pure Storage as the leader in data solutions for AI, NVIDIA as the leader in AI compute, and the math to make sense of it all as our broad community of innovators sitting here today. Now, I have to admit, I was only an A- student in math in college. Now, I know some are looking at me like he was probably going to say he was an A+ student, but I promise not to pull that stereotype thread any further. The data consumed and generated by AI will exponentially grow as federal agencies adopt AI to provide better citizen services and improve mission effectiveness. So we have to take the initiative now to examine existing data investments and ask, can my data enterprise be more efficient? Are my data contracts set up in a way that I can take advantage of innovations without costly rebuys and lengthy procurement cycles? Are my data solutions ready to support the latest in AI advancements? Pure Storage is ready to help and show the fastest path to modernizing data solutions. As recently validated by Gartner for the 11th year in a row, Pure Storage is the leader in enterprise storage solutions by a significant margin in our completeness of vision and our ability to execute. Thank you.
Doyle, thank you so much for bringing awareness to such a critical issue. Next, I'd like to introduce Cheryl Ingstent, Deputy Director of Digital Platforms and Developer Ecosystems at the Defense Innovation Unit, where she'll talk about some of the ways that she's working with public-private partnerships to drive innovation.
Well, it's great to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Before I start, I have a question for you guys. So just raise your hands. Who here in the audience is from industry? A company, large, medium, or small? Ooh, whoa, looks like about 85%. Okay, who's from government? Okay, towards 10%. Okay, good. That's going to be important later. So, because we have something for both of you, I'm making an announcement here today on the status of a huge project that we're launching that both government and companies and industry, including academia, can use. And before that, I'd like to introduce a little bit of information about Defense Innovation Unit, our organization. Some of you may have heard of DIU, and some of you might not have. Defense Innovation Unit is really one of the leading innovation units in the Department of Defense. My boss reports to the Secretary of Defense. So that is really an acknowledgement of how important innovation is for DoD. And our mission is to bring in commercial tech at scale with tremendous speed into the DoD. And the segue here to my role as the Deputy Director for digital platforms and the developer ecosystem is how do we use digital means to do that? How do we develop platforms where we can help speed commercial technology into the DoD? So we are on contract as of today to launch a major platform to the United States really broadly to the nation, and it is for users who are industry users and those who are DoD as well. And the problem that we're trying to solve here is that small companies, medium-sized, large companies, academia, they have tremendous technology that we need in the Defense Department, but they don't know where to find their DoD customer. They can't find the opportunity. And so what we're providing is a digital platform that offers security, so it's going to start at least at IL2 level, where they can use a large language model or latest Gen AI tools to search all the databases that we have on Defense Department opportunities. And the nice thing about that is that if you're in the private sector, and I was in the private sector for 15 years in a really 99% commercial company, Fortune 100, so I've worked in a lot of different industries. And most people in the commercial world, they really don't know what is a CYBER, that the US DoD and even the government offer challenges, that there are accelerator programs. They don't know what a BAA, a broad area announcement, is. And so the easiest way for them to engage is on a platform like what we're launching, which they can come on, just state what is your technology and ask for a match. And then whatever opportunity comes back, we'll give them online education and also physical offices near them that can help them through the next stages of response. And then if you're in the DoD, we have a problem too. It's hard for us to find what are those commercial solutions, right? And they can go look on Google, look on, now we have, internal with NIPRNet GPT, some different ways to do that. But what we're offering is, again, connecting to all the right data sets. So if you're in the DoD and you're looking for a commercial solution for a corrosion problem, for certain types of other really highly technical solutions, you can come onto our platform. We'll search the Defense Department data sets, which will be ever growing with us, and commercial data sets as well. So you can get in to see those venture companies that are up and coming. You can learn about other established companies that you maybe never knew had that solution. We did a technical demonstration, and we proved this in December. We had 100 test users. They did 7,100 queries. I know that they really liked it because we only asked them to do 1 or 2 queries, so they stuck with it throughout the whole week. They filled out 1,500 surveys, and some of the things they said were, this is 1,000% better than what we have now. And out of just that quick little tech demo, 2 companies won a contract. So one DoD user found a company to solve their problem, and one company found found a DoD customer and got on contract. So it will be launched here in the fall. We are on contract this summer, so plodding through every step to stand up this platform, and can't wait to launch it. We are welcoming new test users. Just go to diu.mil/digital on-ramp. So looking forward to you guys all participating. Thank you.
Cheryl, thank you so much for giving us the rundown on digital on-ramp. We're about halfway through, so I just wanted to remind you all that there will be a Q&A session at the end of this, so please hold on to your questions until the end. Now, we're going to get the other side of the coin from Irina Denisenko, the CEO of Knox Systems, who's going to talk about some of the ways that her company works towards getting federal agencies FedRAMP compliant.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. Very excited about all the work that Cheryl's sharing, a lot of what Jennifer's sharing. It's all really very much what I'm going to build on. Very simply, my name's Irina, first of all. I am the CEO of Knox. Knox runs the largest federal managed cloud in the world, and one of the oldest. We run Adobe's federal environment and a number of others. But how does that tie into federal IT efficiency, and why am I here? Let me start off by quoting someone that probably we've seen in the news a lot, the CEO of Palo Alto Networks, Nikesh Arora, who said, "We're spending way too much and getting too little." about technology in the government. Reducing complexity and the lopsided labor to tech ratio is the way. Spending 80% of our precious dollars on services, integration, and operations is probably too high. And he's right. The solution is staring us in the face, and it's actually been on an executive order, multiple executive orders at this point. It's commercial off-the-shelf software. So let me give you an example, right? We're at the Federal IT Efficiency Summit. One way to be more efficient, manage your expenses, right? Well, to manage your expenses, you need an expense management tool. If you're a federal agency, you have two options today, Coupa and Concur. Great tools, legacy products, but that's it. For the industry folks in the room, you know you have 20 enterprise-grade tools, Emburse, Expensify, Ramp, I can go on. That's 10x the competition. And you certainly don't need to be a PhD in economics to know that when you have more competition, you're going to get better quality, you're going to get lower prices, faster implementation, all of it, because you have competition. And so why doesn't the government have access to these tools? Well, very simple. It's security, right? And we've heard, particularly Jennifer, talk about that. Specifically in cloud, it's FedRAMP. So I think we all know what FedRAMP is, and on the DoD side, DISA. It's a vital security framework. It handles how cloud tools can handle sensitive data. It's hard, it's slow, it's $3 million, it's 3 years for an app to go through FedRAMP on its own, and for a lot of the right reasons. You want to make sure that you're putting top secret or CUI data into a very secure environment. But for most applications, and for most companies, frankly, it's just not a viable path. And so we're left with services, consulting, and so on, and no commercial off-the-shelf being able to be leveraged by the government. And so that's really where Knox comes in. We operate, as I mentioned, the largest and longest running federal managed cloud. We run Adobe's federal environment, a number of others. A number of our customers are actually in the audience, Tavuti, Adobe, a number of partners, Celonis, Synity, OutSystems, and a number of others. And long story short, we've built a new model, right? We are taking the risk. We run the production environment of our customers in our cloud across all three hyperscalers, AWS, Azure, and GCP. And we enable those CSPs to serve those vital missions, whether it be expense management or it's emergency communications in the tragic Texas wildfires that are being served by the Adobe Connect product and FEMA coordination on that product. Very excited to be here to really push this concept of there are ways to get commercial off-the-shelf technology into the hands of federal agencies. And in the spirit of efficiency, I'm going to give you all back a minute of your time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Irina. On brand and on time. All right, to round it out, to go last, but certainly not least, I'd like to introduce Alan Hope, the head of Mission Development Branch at Naval Research Laboratory, to talk about maritime domain awareness.
Good morning. As Jordan said, I'm Alan Hope. I'm the head of the Mission Development Branch at the United States Naval Research Laboratory. I'm part of the Naval Center for Space Technology. So why maritime domain awareness? MDA grew out of a lot of space-based collected data where we had expertise. And so I have a long history over my 34 years at the lab of dealing with space systems that collect global data that's relevant to the maritime mission in support of the United States Navy. In my branch, we develop cutting-edge sense-making and data value-added enrichment processes for the Navy, DoD, IC, and other intelligence systems. Within NRL, we leverage new sensor technologies and phenomenologies for C4ISR systems and develop techniques to further exploit and get more information out of those systems than usually normally intended in their original development to meet their requirements in support of various DoD systems. One key example of this is in the maritime domain awareness regime. MDA, the definition of which you can look up, is the effective understanding of all activities, events, and conditions within the maritime environment that could impact security, safety, the economy, or the environment of the United States. That is a very far and wide-reaching mission statement that touches almost every federal organization, many private organization, and other NGO type of organizations going after like IUU fishing. Why is MDA hard? We have a very diverse user base of different levels of capability of users, so you need to build systems that are easy to use, yet still have the smarts behind them for those super users to go in and exercise all the functions and analytics to do the deep work that needs to be done to solve the really hard problems. We need global coverage because maritime problems do not sit in one spot. They travel over 70% of the globe, 24/7, 365 days a year. We need near real-time coverage so that many of these organizations can do operations relying on this information. So it has to be fast and reliable. We have to aggregate hundreds of millions of data records daily, thin them out based upon records that are too dense in time, and then fuse them together into singular, monolithic ship tracks that are persistent and accurate over time. And we have to fuse these disparate data types, right? Everybody probably knows about AIS data that large ships carry. Small ships have it now too. We have space-based commercial collectors. There's a lot of shore-based collectors. It is highly spoofable, so it is not highly reliable in terms of many of the government's hard problems for interdiction of those elements using or doing harm or bad things because they turn it off or they deny access, they spoof their position or change their name so you believe they're somebody else. So we put together that information with other things that are not as spoofable, like imagery, synthetic aperture radar, skin track surface search radar, and try to string those in an unclassified world into singular monolithic tracks per entity out there, and then add in all the other information that we know about those objects from other databases that we can relate to those objects once we know them by name. We don't always know them by name, and that's where having a crowdsourced type of system with wide use within the government can become much more efficient because you can have expertise adding value to the records in the system that become available to all users. So all users don't have to be experts in every area, but each individual that touches the system and adds another piece of information is adding information for the wider use group of people using the system. Each of the organizations that uses the system has their own requirements and has different knowledge of MDA to accomplish their mission. The inefficiency in the government today is each one of those organizations carries their own budget, their own requirements, and so they do sometimes do information sharing, but they don't have a comprehensive plan put together. In terms of efficiency, consolidating commercial data buys and a common system for doing ship tracking with all the auxiliary information, making it widely available within the government would be a huge step towards efficiency across the federal government. That could save money, time, space, storage requirements, processing requirements, and allow others to build applications for analytics within that space, leveraging those databases that sit on top of all that information. At NRL, we're committed to pushing the capabilities of government-wide maritime domain awareness, exploring new data sources to support MDA, new processing technologies to build and maintain better tracks, updating fusion algorithms, and increasing the use of AI ML to speed up the process of getting from data to actionable information. And we're dedicated to ensuring the U.S. Navy and its government partners have the tools and information needed to maintain a safe and secure maritime environment in the most efficient way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, and I'd like to thank all of our lightning round panelists. Now is the time where we do our Q&A session. We have a few minutes, more than 5, I know that much, for you to come up to either of the microphones on either side of me and ask a few questions to our panelists. So please feel free to. All right. Well, I see someone coming up on the right side. So
Thank you, everyone, for your presentations. My question is for Alan. Alan, going back to Arena's comment about commercial off-the-shelf technology and solutions, in your world, how does the evolution of low Earth orbit satellites, commercial low Earth orbit satellites, how is that being used in NRL? Are they, is it a viable source to be able to use what is now, relatively speaking, a cheap resource, or is it too limited?
So it is a valuable resource, and we leverage it. We've used over the years a couple different commercial providers, specifically Spire and now Lloyd's of London Intelligence for our AIS data providers. So it is a very valuable and rich source of information. However, it is costly. We have looked at, their price modeling, and it's usually based upon a per user basis. So these companies have asked me questions of, well, how many organizations are using it? How many users do you have? So they can give me a price. And I convince them I'm a research and development organization, so I'm getting a bottom of the barrel price because we don't have a large user base, and we're trying to get it. If it does become government-wide, I've heard numbers from both Spire and other organizations or commercial providers that have said whole of government type of buy for all their AIS data collected both terrestrially and from space is on order of the low double-digit millions, so between $10 to $20 million, which sounds like a lot of money until you start aggregating the groups that I work with in Department of Transportation, Department of Commerce, NOAA, NASA, and others that all want that information, and they each pay their own bill of about $250,000 to $1 million each to get that data, either on a yearly basis or in a near real-time feed, which is what we're getting, which costs a little bit more than the buying their older data. So it is a valuable resource. We do leverage it. We do look for the best price, and we've been trying to consolidate and get a larger coalition of the willing to pool their monies together. But as I said, it's difficult because everybody comes with their own budget of funds, and to ask them to send me part of that to build this bigger coalition becomes a difficult problem. So it's a problem that needs to be solved at higher levels of the government in terms of policy, and that becomes difficult as to who's going to lead it and where's the funding and who controls it.
please.
Cheryl, this question is kind of more towards your new system that you're putting out, specifically around small businesses or medium-sized businesses that don't yet have an FCL, a facility clearance, and which means that they don't also have personnel clearances for their employees. Is your system looking at classified as well as unclassified? Is it doing both? And then you mentioned having those physical locations that groups could go to. Is this opening up the doors to being able to bid on these classified RFPs or things that are more sensitive?
So I have some good news on that front. But just to be very clear about the digital on-ramp in this first version, it is really about opportunity discovery. So it's not a place to go and, you can get into a classified space and all of that and do work with your government partner or, nothing like that. This is like, how do I find an opportunity? Like, we'll be connecting to the back end of SAM.gov, SBIR.gov, and all of those, so you don't have to go search each one of them. So it's opportunity discovery. And then on your DoD side, for DoD users, it's, commercial solutions, academic solutions discovery. However, the really good news is in DIU, we are standing up this capability to offer smaller companies an option towards like shared facility, facilities that are for classified, so shared SCIF space, basically. And so that is something that is just at the cusp of being launched and worked out and funded and all of that. So there's really good news going forward here. Obviously, there would be, limits to it as it kicks off as a new project, but I encourage you to research that on our DIU website. And if you need to contact me, I can put you in touch with the person running that program.
Please come up to a microphone. Sorry for the walk.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Amit Lazari. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Open Policy. We have here one of our customers in the panel, Knox, and I wanted to double down on this issue of leveraging AI also for policy intelligence. We are very familiar with the on-ramp effort. We are part of the TREX consortium, and we've been working with the DAU on this component. We use AI to scale policy intelligence, and as throughout the day, we heard again and again in the panels how much of the importance between policy and mission alignment to product and acquisition is critical. And so, opening the question to the panelists, how do you view the opportunity of leveraging artificial intelligence and AI to actually bolster that specific heart piece of the component with integrating the policy expertise and kind of scaling the way of all the components across both private industry and public sector to better consume, strategies that relate to policy changes?
So I can talk more about integrating, technologies, and number one is, do you actually know what those technologies are and what they can do? And that's where I think the digital on-ramp will help at really, truly at scale. And it really leaves no one behind in the United States because it is a digital tool. So if you're in the middle of Oklahoma or you're in the middle of Montana, you can access this tool with your technology and find out if there's a DoD opportunity. Is there a demand signal for the technology that I have, right? Where can I get some help? How do I work with the government, et cetera? So I think on the policy, there wouldn't be that yet, that demand. I don't have yet the demand internally, to how do we connect that to policy. But I would say in the longer term plan, mining the data in there for insights could lead to strategy and policy changes.
Fantastic.
So thank you for the question as well. So at the GAO, obviously we have a number of engagements, assessments, evaluations underway. And one of my teams is doing currently an AI tech assessment. And when we do the tech assessments, they're to go to work with Congress to look at legislating new policy and changes. So when I mentioned the 16 critical infrastructure sectors, we are literally going to be working with industry partners and doing expert panels and evaluations over the next few months to really narrow down the types of policy that needs to be legislated by Congress. And this is because a transportation sector is going to have different metrics and policy measures than an energy sector. However, they are going to intersect at some point based on the customers and the personally identifiable information that is built into those large language models. So we are going to be conducting that assessment and really working with Congress to figure out ways to kind of institutionalize some of the policies that are needed in AI in the different sectors.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. We are part of the IT Sector Coordinating Council, and so we really appreciate your leadership on this particular point.
Awesome. Thank you for the question.
I'd love to add one thing, again, just to tie it back to efficiency. When you think about historically, we have a room, 80% of industry folks who have had access to policy, to lobbyists, right? You want to talk about efficiency? There's a whole lot of inefficiency in the lobbying front. We know that. Well, who has had access to it? You have to be at least a $5 billion company to put any real money to work into that. Lately, maybe $1 billion in revenue. Everyone else has been left out. And what AI has done is really allowed companies that are not as resource rich to participate in the government. And I think what we've seen particularly over the last few months is in many avenues, smaller companies, more nimble companies, but companies that have very powerful technology that can unlock so many critical missions are able to participate in not just acquisition, not just on the cyber front, but also on the policy front. And that's why it's, we think it's a massive unlock for efficiency, AI being that massive unlock.
Yeah, I would just add, and this isn't policy related, but more efficiency related. And until we've had this recent, like Gen AI tools, we really would not have been able to do what we're doing at scale with the digital on-ramp. So it is really with this kind of technology that we can achieve an efficiency to reach anyone who has interesting technology and connect them with a DoD opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Any additional questions? Seeing no takers, I did want to ask a question to our panelists, and I wanted to throw one towards Doyle. Doyle, you have a really interesting, your speech was really interesting in talking about the ways that when I think about AI, it's a really promising technology, but there's also been concerns about its environmental impact as, we throw out millions of prompts at it, billions of prompts at it. Talking about pure storage and AI storage containerization, could you explain to me some of the environmental benefits of that?
Yeah, so let me start by saying, when we look at storage and innovations in general, right, we see a shift towards procuring innovations as you would a service, such as if you think about mobile technology, right? So instead of constantly refreshing your phone, you're buying a service with outcomes associated with that service, and there are service level agreements as well as stipulations around quality of service, right? How that service is delivered. Environmental considerations are certainly one of the areas that technology vendors have to really meet the demands of what government as well as the broader community demands. And so as we shift towards as-a-service models in government, we've seen some recent press about how government across the board is trying to do more from an as-a-service perspective. We believe that, technology should be part of that journey. Instead of one-time buys and trying to upgrade innovations, let's procure capability as a service based on the outcomes that drive the missions that all of us are required to meet.
Absolutely. Well, Doyle, and to all of our panelists, thank you so much for sharing your insights. This has been awesome, and I'm glad that those in the audience got the chance to engage. But don't go anywhere. We still have an amazing rest of the day, including our Flywheels presentation for our Flywheels Awards. And I would like to welcome our president, Mike Hoffman, back to the stage. Thank you.